Hello, and welcome to the East Africa Business Podcast. I'm Sam Floy, and I'm here on the continent to learn about the emerging business scene. I'll be interviewing startups, investors, and organisations who are all playing their part in helping the region develop and grow. And in doing this podcast, I'll be sharing with you the things that I learn along the way. When people start on a business idea, they typically go and work out of a co-working space, so they can be amongst like-minded individuals and also get support in starting their venture. The first of these hubs in Uganda was called Hive Colab, and I speak with Gilbert, the program manager, about his view of the interesting businesses coming out of the space. He really has his finger on the pulse in terms of innovative companies being created in Uganda, and we speak about plenty, including how and why Hive Colab are looking to attract the top university graduates in the country, the exorbitant cost of internet access, and how he sees opportunities for the government to help promote what they are doing. Without further ado, here he is. Hi, so Gilbert, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sam.
Cool. So just to get us started, could you tell us a bit about you and a bit about how you started working for Hive Colab?
Okay. I am called Gilbert Arinda, and I am the programs manager here at Hive Colab. I have been at Hive Colab for a year now. I joined January 2016. About myself, I have a bachelor's degree in development economics. Previously, I've worked with Airtel Uganda and I've worked with Centenary Bank before I joined Hive Colab. Currently at Hive Colab, I do manage all the projects that we run. I support all the startups. I make sure all the trainings go on as they are supposed to be and monitor the progress of the startups until they graduate out of the hub.
Cool. So just to understand, so Hive is a co-working space. How do you best describe what Hive does?
Okay. Hive Colab is a tech innovation hub and co-working space. It's the first of its kind in the country. Was started in 2010, and we are all about new tech businesses and the development of the country as a whole. So we are a community of co-creators, people who share ideas and they work together to build them or to build viable businesses.
And so how many people typically come to the Hive every day?
Yes, on average every day we have 40 to 60 people that actually come in. That is inclusive of the startups that we actually have. So on average about 40 to 60, which is progress, because when the hub was started we had on average 5 to 8. So people are embracing the kind of work and value that hubs actually provide. That's why they come in so often now.
So how many sort of startups do you say are part of Hive?
Currently we have 27 startups in this hub. By end of this year, 2016, we'll have 25 more coming in through a program that I am working on, that Hive Colab is working on, called the Inter-University Acceleration Program, where we are recruiting university students with brilliant projects to help them develop them and realize their dreams. So by end of year, we'll have 25 more, currently 27.
Nice. Why are you going to universities?
We are going to university because we realize there's these university students have so much potential. They are very brilliant minds, but what happens is they tend to work on these projects for their final year, and after getting the grades that they actually need, they drop them, they never follow them up, and then they go out and start, I would call it job hunting. So they come and look for jobs, they want to get employed. That is what we want to do away with, and that is a big problem as far as unemployment, as far as the high unemployment rates are concerned. So we want to do away with the high unemployment for the youth by encouraging them to work on their projects, final year projects. These are students who are doing tech related courses. So we would like them to work on their projects, and at the end of the day, they will be able to not only employ themselves, but employ 5 or 10 more people along the way.
Okay, so it's part of the curriculum that they always work on a...
Yes. It's mandatory for them to hand in a project at the end of their year, theirs at university.
And what types of projects do people do?
There are all kinds of projects, really, but most of them are in health related. They're trying to find a cure for this and that, cure for kidney stones, a cure for malaria, or it may not be a cure per se, but it may be an innovative way, say, of testing for malaria. Are we testing? If currently you're testing for malaria by pricking, is there any way we can actually test for malaria without actually pricking your skin? Something of the sorts. So these are ideas basically in all sorts of areas. It could be health, it could be agriculture, it could be education, it could be governance, it could be anything really.
So they're doing these projects, and they're doing it just for academic reasons?
Yes, they're doing it for academic reasons. At the end, just like you do your master's and you have to do a thesis at the end of it all, yes.
Is that the case in all the universities here, like to do this type of project?
Yes, especially for tech-related courses, computer science, information technology, computer engineering. Yes, at the end of their years at university, they have to submit a project.
And you're saying at the moment, people just sort of hand it in, forget about it?
I would say 70% of them are actually doing that for their grades. They just want to pass and then graduate, and then they can sort the rest later. And in most cases, they don't ever go back to pick up on the projects that they actually submitted. So what we're looking at is not only working on the project for the marks, but we want you to work on a sustainable project. For example, a student working on a project, let me say, for the case of Uganda, you are working on a GPS tracking system for chicken or goats. Chew. You get the grades. They'll say it's a very brilliant project, but does it work? Does it actually work here in Uganda? It actually doesn't work. So we want something that works in the country. You're not just getting the grades, but you can implement your project. It is sustainable, yes.
In that example, why does GPS tracking for chickens not work in Uganda?
Okay, why are you tracking the chicken really here in the country? I don't see it as being viable per se, because here in the country there's actually no need for tracking chicken unless you're trying to track who you're selling, maybe your sales, who your main customers are or something like that. Yes, maybe there it will work, but we've not reached at the level where it is going to get adopted. Ugandans are still trying to adopt GPS tracking system for their cars. So by the time we get to chicken, then we still have some time, I guess.
Are there some examples of good projects that have come from universities and have ended up in Hive?
Well, there's some brilliant projects, but like I said, those projects are going to come in at the end of the year. This is a project we've just started running this year, but yes, I can already see some promising projects although they are not yet in Hive officially. We're still trying to train the students on how to go about them and what is their business model, what should they look out for, how should they actually go around the whole project. But other than that, we have very many brilliant projects in Hive, not necessarily from the university.
So where do the current people who work in Hive, where did they come from?
The current people, actually, most of them do walk-in, okay? They have realized how much or the benefits that come with being at Hive Colab. So what happens is they come in and then they talk to us, we sign them up to be officially here, and then some of them have ideas but do not actually have the skills to actually develop these projects. We are an IT biased innovation hub, so the projects that do come in are basically in the IT field. So some of the people do come in, he has an idea in his head, it works out so well, but to implement it, he probably needs a website, probably needs an application built, basically needs some sort of help from the hub. So most of them do walk in. Others, if we come across or get to know what you are doing, we approach you ourselves, ask you if you would need any help, and then if you are willing to come on board, then you can come on board, we sign you up.
What are the main things that you need to help people with? Are there any sort of recurring themes?
Yes, themes. If by that you mean the fields that we are majorly interested in?
No, I'm thinking more, are there problems that lots of people are having that you find yourself having to teach people?
For startup, in this case, the major problems that they are facing, am I answering your question right? Is basically the roadmap to success. They have the idea, they probably know the end result, but how to get there is the major concern and is one of the biggest causes of the high failure rate of startups actually in the country. So what the major problem that they are facing and where we normally come in is the business development bit and training them to ensure that their product is sustainable and they are designing it for the right clientele.
And how do you do that?
Well, we have a training schedule, different topics that we feel these startups should concentrate on. So we basically hold trainings quite often, every 2 weeks for startups. We normally have them at once, seated in one place, so that we don't train this and then train the same thing tomorrow to a different group. So what happens is we get them together and then we train them on those. I would call it a roadmap to the success of a startup. So they come in, attend, and yeah.
Is this something which you developed, or did you, when you were researching what you needed to teach people, how did you go about figuring it out?
Or figuring out what we need to train them about? Well, initially when we started, with the initial startups that we started with, we tried to ask them, what do you think you actually need? Then some of them, of course, failed along the way, so we went back to revise why they actually failed, and we found some of them are wasting even the little resources that they actually have on developing a fully fledged product, yet they're not even sure if they are designing for the right clientele. So through that, you will get to realize that maybe startups do not need to actually first design a complete product for them to launch their product. Maybe they need to first just get a minimum viable product, launch it, get feedback from the users, and along the way they can keep modifying what they've actually designed. Okay, so the topics that we come up with to train them are actually from experience and what these startups have gone through along the way.
So, so when you did it back in 2010, when Hive did their first program, they were sort of figuring it out for themselves. See, and are there things that make the Hive program different to other offerings that people can get?
Yes. For the case of startups, it's a whole package, I would say. So in addition to probably us helping you develop your products, we go a step further by providing you space to work here as you develop your product. This is, in addition to the space, you have access to our very reliable internet. You have access to mentors. Hive Colab has mentors. So what we do is we attach, every mentor is attached to about 3 or 4 startups. And in that case, he is responsible for setting milestones for them after the training, so that he can keep monitoring their progress. So they're supposed to report to him, and then he's supposed to also schedule weekly meetings with them to assess how far they've gone. Other than that, we also help get them access to potential investors and venture capitalists who, in the end, if the startup is good enough, tend to invest in these startups, which is actually what the startups really need, because one of their biggest problems is the limited resources. And then, lastly but not least, we also go an extra mile to get these startups their first client.
Okay. With the investors, what is a typical investor here? Is it someone who is it a foreign investor? Is it someone who's made their fortune here? What's the typical profile?
Well, basically, we do not really mind whether it is someone foreign or someone here. The potential investor would be someone who has a passion for the kind of business the startup is doing, okay, and is willing to supplement them to see that the startup grows. It could be supplementing through providing resources, monetary, or it could be partnering with them to get them another client. It could be offering his development skills or pointing them in the right direction that they're supposed to move. So the support will come in different ways, as long as the startup founders and the investor can complement each other to move forward.
If I was a startup here in Kampala, what are the other options I have in terms of co-working spaces, or is Hive the only option really?
No, Hive is not the only option. There are other startups that have come up. A case in point is Outbox, which is doing very good work as well. There's Run Labs, that's Resilient African Network. They're also doing very good work. There's Innovation Village, they're also doing good work. So there's quite a number of them.
Will a startup ever kind of work from several of these, or do they kind of pick one and then stick with them forever?
Well, they're not actually restricted to working with one. They are free to work with any that they so wish, as long as they see they are gaining something from there. So they're not really turned down. So startups tend to choose depending on the success, how successful has this innovation have been in graduating previous startups. So they keep looking out for the successful ones. They get to know where they started or which hub they've been through. Generally, they look out for the best services and very good opportunities that the hub is offering, and then they can select that very hub.
Could you tell me about some of the success stories from Hive?
Yes. We have worked with, there's a startup that we worked with called Access Mobile. Access Mobile graduated and moved out of the hub. So they now have their own space. We worked with a project called Matibabu. Matibabu was malaria testing, but they were doing malaria testing, but without actually pricking your skin.
How do you manage that?
It's like scanning basically. They developed a device where you could just bring it close and then it would detect.
Wait, so you put your smartphone on your finger and it tells you if it's got malaria? That's incredible.
Very brilliant young men. There's another one called Dandil. Dandil was offering very good deals on different services, but it was after seeing how much value they were giving and the way they were performing, then they were bought up by another company that I forget. So it was like a merger and became big.
Was that another company from Uganda, or was it a foreign?
No, it was. No, I need to check that. I can't confirm.
Okay. But either way, you could view it as a success.
Yes.
The fact that they got bought.
Yes. True.
And when you look at the ones that have been successful, what is it that has made them successful?
Well, one of the factors that has made them successful is one, their determination to meet the set milestones that we actually set for them. These guys were very committed, very committed. If it was time for a one-on-one with a mentor, they were here. These guys went out of their way to work after work hours. These guys were these guys were always thinking on which move we should take next. These guys were basically, they were working over and above what they're actually supposed to do. Very committed. And then they kept iterating their products to fit in the market, still ever thinking of a new product that we can actually, or a new way of doing things. May not actually be a product, but how should we do it better? If it's taking 5 minutes to do this, how can we do it in 2 minutes? Something like that. So it's their commitment and their urge to learn from the rest that has actually pushed them to be successful.
And when you look at the market in general, where do you see the most opportunity?
Well, there are key areas, but I think the most opportunity could be in the financial sector or for fintech startups. And currently, we've also noticed that there's a very big opportunity for startups in the governance and justice sector, basically. So those startups in those areas, there's like, I would call it ready funding or ready support for them to develop whatever they're developing. It's an area that has piqued interest of late for reasons I'm yet to also understand, but basically I think it's all about citizen engagement, and yes.
So when you say, is it justice and, how did you describe it? Governance. Yeah. Can you explain what you mean?
I mean the way that the populace or the citizens engage with their leaders. Okay. Basically, getting leaders to be accountable for probably their manifestos or whatever actions they actually do. It may involve doing away with the vices in government. It may be corruption. It may be basically anything, service delivery. It could anything related to that area, and yes, that is piquing a lot of interest.
And is there a lot of demand for it?
Yes, there's a lot of demand. It's pretty new. We need to sensitize people about it more. Hive Colab, as a hub, we have some partner organizations and donors who are pretty much interested in that. You tell them about that and you have all their attention, and they are very willing to go an extra mile to make sure you succeed or you build the platform as soon as possible. So I don't think most people have actually learned about it, but yes, it's an area that has piqued interest recently. Although there are some constant areas that will always pique interest, like health. The demand for innovations in health will always be up there. The reason I mentioned governance and justice sectors is because that is just a new area that has come up.
So why do you think it has suddenly come up?
I think pretty much it's a sector which has been ignored for a long time, or it's an area that hasn't been looked into at all, and very few people had actually taken interest in it, or had not actually realized the importance of having a very good governance system in place to serve the people or to bring services closer until recently. I would speak for Uganda, until recently, when probably during elections where people promise, the same leaders are coming back to be elected to lead their people, yet they're not fulfilling what they actually promised the last time that they were elected. Yes.
And when you look at over the next sort of few years, I know you've got the university program coming up soon. What other innovations do you think there might be with Hive, or do you think it'll be pretty much business as usual over the next sort of 3 years?
I don't think it will be business as usual. I don't think it will be business as usual. I think we'll have more and more innovations coming in different areas that we are probably even yet to discover. But right now, we are trying to promote, like I've said, we're trying to promote those areas. I mean, innovations in the governance sector. I have a couple of them that are coming up already. And then concentrate on the major areas of health, education, and agriculture, which are also some of our core thematic areas.
So we'll just do a few more questions. That's okay. So when you think, okay, in the next, sort of look over the next sort of 3 years, and more and more people are going to be coming through. Do you think it's going to continue to be university graduates, or do you think different types of people are going to start wanting to set up businesses?
Well, I think different people will come in, and then university students will also come in greater numbers once they realize the value that we actually offer to them as far as development of their projects is concerned. The point to note is that we are tech biased. So most businesses that still come in are in the tech field. Okay? So different people have different projects, but most of them could or may not be tech related. In that case, our support to you is actually limited. Okay? So we expect more and more businesses coming in the tech field, various innovations. They may not be in the areas that I've talked about. It could just be a social innovation. For example, we have a very brilliant startup here that is a social innovation. It's called Yoza. Yoza is a Uganda word for wash. So it's neither it's neither in the agri sector, it's not in the education sector, it is not in the health sector, neither is it in the government sector, but these guys came up with a solution to wash clothes, do laundry for different people. And how are they doing it? They're offering a service of washing, and they're employing ladies in the community that are unemployed and would do the washing. So it's a win-win, I would call it, for the ladies, and then for you who requires your laundry service. Okay? So that is a social innovation. And so they keep as well, adding in this and that. They started with the washing, now they've incorporated ironing as well, value for money, house cleaning, so they keep iterating. So we expect more and more innovations to come in, social innovations, and then in our core thematic areas.
And I'm interested, when you sort of see other innovations coming in, do you think they will all be homegrown, or do you think that, let's say, a company that starts up in Kenya or Tanzania and is then sort of does well in its domestic market and then it looks to expand? Yes. Do you think that's likely to happen, or do you think it's more like each country in the region will?
No, that is more likely to actually happen. We have a startup here which originally started in Kenya, and they're trying to expand here. It's called Modundu. They do music, online music, and promotion of artists and the music online. So they are actually here with us, and they're doing very well. So we don't really expect the startups to be homegrown. The other startups from different countries which are looking to expand into their country are also very welcome.
And what are the main benefits you see to doing business or setting up or expanding your business to Uganda?
Well, Ugandans are very welcome people per se. They tend to try out everything that actually comes their way. So as long as you package your product well, give them value for money, be there to give support, then they are always going to adopt your product. They catch up very fast, I would say, very fast. So yeah, as long as you set up shop here and you're doing a good thing, then your startup will have to succeed in one way or another.
Awesome. Very cool. So what are some of the challenges that you face when running Hive?
Oh, cool. Great question. As a hub, we have quite a number of problems. It should be noted, first of all, that Hive Colab is a non-profit. So we basically do this because of our passion in technology. The major problem involves the high cost of space, having space in the city. It's quite expensive for a non-profit. And then being tech biased, internet costs that normally these startups, the internet that normally these startups require, and the costs also pretty much high.
As a rough estimate, how much are you paying per month?
I'll tell you that currently as Hive, we're paying almost $1,000 in internet costs per month.
$1,000
Yes.
per month?
Yes.
Wow, that is really high.
Yes, it is high. So, and the other thing is we also, the interest in hubs is growing. So we're having more people coming in, and there's a need to expand. So the space is also limited. That said, we also, unlike other countries where, for example, the hubs have just come up in Rwanda, but they're receiving enormous support from the government. So much support that Rwanda, I think their first hub must have opened up about 2 years ago. But the progress that they're showing compared to Uganda, where we started 6 years ago, is really, they're getting so much support. So we here in Uganda, hubs are lacking government support. Well, hopefully, if they support, then we shall provide better services.
I see. So what are the future plans for Hive?
The future plans is having run this inter-university acceleration program that I talked about. We have noticed that there's some areas, or we have brilliant minds all over the country, not just in Kampala. The project we've run is so far run in Kampala, universities in Kampala, one in Mbarara, one in Gulu, which is in northern Uganda. But we've actually seen that these students or these people in Mbarara and Gulu have brilliant ideas. Okay, so one of our strategies, future plans, is to expand and set up shop in Mbarara and Gulu, hopefully. Okay, well, we just need the support, but so far we've planned as Hive Colab to open another branch in Mbarara. There's pretty much no competition. There's no other hub. The only one there is dealing with health-related innovations. So we believe by setting up shop there, we'll be able to supplement what is already going on in other areas. And then our other plan is to engage more ladies in technology. Out of the 60 to 80 people that are coming in every day, about 40. So we want to involve more ladies in these innovations, building these applications and innovations. Yes.
And so, for people who are listening at home, how can they follow what Hive is doing? Do you have a presence on social media?
Yes. For people at home, they can always follow us on Facebook, Hive Colab. Find the page. On Twitter, still we go with the handle at Hive Colab. We do have a website, which is www.hivecolab.org. So all the information they can always pick from there, or they can as well send us an email at info@hivecolab.com, or better still, visit us at our premises here on Kanjocha Street, plot 90, Kanjocha House.
Awesome stuff. Cool. Gilbert, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sam.
Before we head, just a quick moment to say thank you for listening. You can see the show notes for this episode by heading to samfloy.com/podcast. That's samfloy.com/podcast. Now, this show is still relatively new, and so I really appreciate you making it through to the end. What would be great is, if you're enjoying it, to tell a couple of friends about it too, in case they'd also be interested in listening. Also, if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, please feel free to email me, podcast@samfloy.com, and I'd be happy to chat. In any case, have a great week, and speak to you soon.